Welcome to episode 6, aka episode 5, part 2 of the Flagrant 2 podcast. We are live from Boulders on Southern, which is on the northeast corner of Alma School in Southern. For those of you that are listening in Arizona, they are the new sponsor for the podcast. Very excited to be broadcasting live. Really cool specials they're going to give to the listeners of the pod. If you show up in the next 90 days and you mention the podcast or my name, which is Kyle Flieger, you will get a $1 pint. And if you come during one of our broadcasts, you will get an extended happy hour menu. Really cool specials, and I'm really excited to be here. I think it's a lot more interesting than being in a quiet room by myself and talking to people on the phone. So I am actually really, really happy to be joined by my very good friend, longtime basketball nerd, Antonio AJ Moorhead. He is going to go through the win totals with us, which for those of you who are casual basketball fans, at the beginning of every year, Vegas, which they haven't done yet, they release the number of wins they expect each team to win. And you're able to bet whether you think the team is going to win more or less games than what the so-called line or the number of or the win total is. So I'm going to be going through the win total with AJ. AJ is going to be giving us what he thinks Vegas's win total is going to look like. And then I'm going to be giving you my very biased opinion of how many wins each team is going to win, and then AJ will tell me how crazy I am. So
Phoenix Suns for 65.
The Phoenix Suns will win 74 games, so look for some really big push from Phoenix. So AJ,
before we start, congrats on the podcast. A lot of people think about having them and don't, so it's good that you're putting the work in. And also, thanks for having me. I've never been on a podcast before.
Yes, thank you for coming, AJ, and let's just jump right into it. We're going to go alphabetical order. Let's talk about the Atlanta Hawks. What do you think?
If I told you that the Atlanta Hawks were going to win, if I set the line at 40.5 games, would you take over or under? Because I am selling Atlanta Hawks stock.
You know, I don't see them getting that bad. I would take the over. I have them at 46 personally. I don't think Dwight Howard's better than Al Horford, but I think he mitigates the weaknesses of Atlanta, specifically on defense. I think they're going to be a little worse, but not that bad.
What were Atlanta's weaknesses on defense?
They just didn't have anybody that was very good as a defensive rim protector. Al Horford was a decent overall defender, not a great rim protection numbers. Splitter was hurt most of the year.
Yeah, Splitter was hurt most of the year. I agree with that.
Paul Millsap actually is a surprisingly good defensive player the last couple of years, and I don't think because of his size he gets as much credit as he should, but he's not your traditional rim protector. Dwight Howard is going to, I think they hope to replicate his Orlando days where you put him in the middle, let him try to go to work a little bit, and then hit shooters on the outside.
That's 100% true. That was 7 years ago.
Touche.
And you think they can replicate that effectively enough to win 41 games at least?
Well, they are playing in the Eastern Conference.
They won 48 games last year.
Yes, I agree. And they won 60 the year before that.
Yes, and then they lost Amari Carroll and
they
effectively lost Kyle Korver.
Sure, and I would say Kent Bazemore is maybe not as good as Damari Carroll, but he's very close.
Yeah,
I
would
say very close
too.
statistically. I think that if you look specific, and Kent Bazemore is obviously younger, less injury concerns than Damari Carroll because Damari Carroll did miss time last year. So I don't think that's a huge drop-off. I don't think he deserves the $75 million they gave him. But
I think that's a huge drop-off because nobody would ever have Kent Bazemore defending an Elite Four, which Damari Carroll did all of the time.
But like I said, Damari Carroll's hurt, and they won 48 games with Kent Bazemore. So do you really think the drop-off between
Al Horford and Dwight Howard is going to be worth 7 games? Yes, I do. And the continued downward slide of Kyle Korver? Yes, I do. I'm taking the under on 40.5 games.
The under?
Yes.
All right.
What about just because of learning curve?
You heard it here first. Yes, so...
I mean...
Go ahead.
Jarrett Jack wastes possessions, and Dennis Schroeder isn't quite ready yet. I wasn't that high on Jeff Teague. I'm less high on both those guys. I'm going to bet on the status quo that they don't have a good point guard. I think that, along with Horford, is going to cost them.
I think that's smart. I will say one thing to look out for at the point guard position specifically is getting Malcolm Delaney to come over. He was somebody that was one of the really best players in Europe last year.
Yeah,
I think he'll probably supplant whoever they plan on putting at the 2. And I wouldn't be shocked, backup point guard. I wouldn't be shocked if by halfway through the season, if Delaney was starting and Schroeder was back to his backup role.
Delaney's effectively a rookie, so...
He's a pretty old rookie, though, and I think he'll have a little bit better translation. The stats nerds kind of like him. I think when you look at, what I think so. This is the thing. Tim Duncan and Danny LaRue, right? I'm going to use their references a couple of times. They're big nerds about the offseason. They both had them graded as a C and a C minus, respectively. I see them being around as bad as they are. I do think they're going to be worse. I just don't think they're going to be that much worse.
Okay. And I'll add one thing that's grist for your mill is that Atlanta's basically has P3 in-house now, which makes it arguably the best medical staff in the history of basketball.
Okay.
So that might make Dwight Howard something close to what he was 7 years ago that Houston couldn't manage, and of course the Lakers obviously couldn't manage because they have a terrible medical staff.
And you mentioned Kyle Korver earlier and the drop-off he's had, maybe because it feels like that's somewhat injury-related. It's somewhat diminishing skills at his age-related, but
yes.
he's a pure shooter, and he didn't have a great year, and I think, with the improved staff, he might be better. But I think we both agree the Hawks are set to regress.
I say 40 games or fewer.
That is a very bold take for AJ right off the bat. I'm excited. I want to say that, for a reference, for those of you that want to know, where we stand with a lot of this stuff.
Kyle has him at 46 games.
I have him at 46 games, so...
Boston Celtics, the most exciting team in the Eastern fucking Conference. I can't even wait.
What's exciting about the Celtics? I mean,
besides Al Horford and
besides Brad Stevens' presidential bid in 2020.
And Marcus Smart getting better from three?
If Marcus Smart is better from three, that will be exciting.
Yeah.
If any of the point guards are better from three, that'll be exciting. Because I think Isaiah Thomas is already pretty good, but he's Avery Bradley, 38%. Good three-point shooter.
37%.
Yeah, he's a good three-point shooter. He's getting better. He's still a younger guy. Jay Crowder, a promising three-point shooter. I don't know. I mean, I love the Al Horford edition. Over-under, 100 three-pointers made by Al Horford.
By Al Horford? That's one-ish per game.
And to give you reference, he went from half a game in 2014 to 2015 to last year 3 threes attempted per game, and he was making them at about a 35% clip, if I remember correctly.
I can tell you right off the top of my head that Olynyk made about 1.5 three-pointers last year, and you're asking me if Al Horford is better at shooting threes than Kelly Olynyk? Probably. I think it'll be...
Okay.
Yeah.
He's an interesting case.
I'll take the under, but I think it's like high 90s.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a big hope for them. I think one of the things that made Al Horford more appealing in the market and why he was so highly coveted is that he really went from shooting no threes per game to shooting about 3 per game, and that's going to add value.
Okay, so if I put the line at 55 games, what are you going to do?
I have them at, I'm going to go under.
Uh-huh.
I have them at 52.5 games. So I don't know how you win a half game. That was before so we'll call it 53. I think that Jaylen Brown adds a lot to the team.
Rookies traditionally don't do that, so why do you think that?
Defensively, outside of Jay Crowder, they don't really have anybody who I think can play against more of the small ball fours. They have a lot of guys who are defenders, but Jaylen Brown has the body to defend power forwards in the NBA. I mean, he's huge. I got to see him in person at the Suns workout with his shirt off, nonetheless. And I'm telling you, this... Oh, my God. I'm telling you, this guy he looks like he's built out of just a solid brick wall, and that they carved his body into it. I mean, he's one of the more NBA-ready players, I think, that we're going to see come out of the draft. And he's going to actually have minutes. I mean, he'll have a defined role on the team as a rookie, a role that I think he'll do well in.
Okay.
So you have him at 56.
I have him 56 games or more. Yeah.
What was last year?
Last year, they won 48 games. They were projected to only win 42.5 games by Vegas last year. Their title odds are 25-1. I actually kind of like them. If you think they're a guaranteed lock for the Eastern Conference Finals against Cleveland, it takes a very small injury to that team to potentially tilt the scales, right? LeBron sprains his ankle, and all of a sudden now the Celtics are in the NBA Finals, and you never know what happens. But
well, I think I know what happens. I think they probably lose to the Warriors.
They probably beat the Phoenix Suns in the NBA Finals. So they'll probably take Phoenix if they meet. You're right. That is probably a given.
All right.
But all right. So the Celtics, they're going to be good. Do you think they're the 2 seed?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have them over Toronto as the 2 seed.
Oh, if I'll tell you this, I think if they're not the 2 seed, I think Charlotte is the 2 seed.
Wow. Now, see, I have Charlotte set to regress, so let's get there, but we'll go through the Nets first.
With loss of Big Al.
So one of the things I did to put this together was look at the Hollinger expected win additions, and this is a flawed stat for many reasons. One is because John Hollinger wrote it, but two is because it relies heavily on PER, which we all know undervalues defense, and so as you look through these numbers, you'll see that like the big defensive guys don't add as many wins as you might expect them to. Tim Duncan is a prime example of this. So you kind of got to jigger that in your head if you watch a lot of basketball games to figure it out. But that's kind of what I'm going off of. Jigger, like mess with.
Oh, I thought you meant like Jay-Z Jigga.
Finagle.
But just in case anyone is wondering what I'm doing, that's my guideline.
Okay. So you have, let's go Brooklyn.
Yeah, Brooklyn.
They're going to be worse.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's no reason they shouldn't be worse.
Yeah, they're going to be bad.
There's nothing to save them.
Is there any fan base that's going to be more tortured this year being bad than Brooklyn who will definitely not get their pick? Because if I remember correctly,
yes,
the right. Boston Celtics have a pick swap opportunity this year with Brooklyn, so they can. And we just said you expected to win 56 games. We'll say that's safely going to be more than Brooklyn when you tell us your projection.
It's really bad.
But
Brooklyn is going to be really bad.
Man, Brooklyn has nothing to look forward to. Most teams in this position would just try to be as bad as possible, suck it up, and move on. But they don't even get their own draft pick. So. No. What do you have them at? Where are they at?
So I think we're in the exact same boat on this. I put the line at 20, and I took the under.
And I put the line at 20. I think they're going to win 20 games, and I think it might be also under.
Brooklyn, it says you have 18. You have 18 games right here.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, I have 18. AJ has 20. So
no, my reading's 20.
Reading's tough. Reading's tough. So I obviously agree with AJ that it's going to be under 20 wins. I think if Vegas sets the line at 20, let's go below that. And other than that, they have Jeremy Lin. So if you're a fan of Linsanity in New York, part 1, part 2's on its way. Other than that, we don't need to talk about the Nets.
No. Well, do you think Brook Lopez gets moved by the end of the year?
So that's part of the problem with being so bad that tanking doesn't benefit you.
Sure.
Maybe. Yeah, I think they could try to trade him for draft picks.
It's not about tanking. It's about this is the last year on his deal, is it not? Or did he get re-signed over the summer?
I want to say
he was not. I don't believe he was re-signed.
I want to say he may have
last
been
year on his
re-upped.
They have an obligation to move him.
We'll look into it, but I agree with you. I mean, there's
check
definitely
on that while you guys do.
Even if he weren't going to be on his last year, right? Even if he does have 4 more years, that's just going to increase the value of trading him potentially because he's under contract.
Yeah.
So I think people still look at Brook Lopez as a starting center in the NBA, so I don't think you're going to lose that value.
Remind me when we get to the S's to ask you one more question about Brooklyn.
Okay.
You want to talk about Charlotte?
Let's talk about Charlotte. You just said you think that they're going to be a potential 2 seed, so
I
bring the ruckus.
Yeah.
And just so you know, Brook Lopez is under contract not only this year for $21 million, but he's under contract next year for $22.5.
Oh, okay.
So high before he gets hurt again.
Yeah. So they can do with that what they want to, but Jesus Christ, that things are grim in Brooklyn town. I think they re-signed all the right people, meaning Marvin Williams and Nick Batum. I think that Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, the few games he played last year, his shot was way, way better than it was his first couple years. And having 60 games with him instead of 60 games without him is going to put them way over 48 games, which is what they won last year. That's my view. And Al Jefferson isn't going to not defend in the paint, and maybe Michael Jordan can yell at Roy Hibbert a little bit and intimidate him.
I was going to say, speaking of defense in the paint, they went from having somebody who is possibly the worst defensive player at his position and one of the better offensive threats at his position to having somebody who is a non-starter on offense, but one of the better rim protectors we've seen in a long time, Roy Hibbert. I mean, this is a guy who was up for Defensive Player of the Year, relatively recently. I think everyone hopes Hibbert can show shades of what he was in Indiana. I think if he's even half as good as he was for LA, he's going to provide them something. But do you think Jeremy Lin's a loss? Because I think the biggest issue with Charlotte this year is they did lose Jeremy Lin. He played really well for them despite his lack of, starter potential. I think Jeremy Lin in the pick and roll specifically made their offense go. He was probably one of the better parts of their offense. So
all I can tell you is that Sessions was worth more wins last year than Lin was.
Okay, yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah, and I
don't think at the point that neither one of them is particularly valued for defense, we can probably call that pretty active.
I think Kidd-Gilchrist is going to be the key. I think you're right. MKG is a big deal. He's one of those guys who, when he's healthy and when he's engaged, he's one of the elite 5 or 6 wing defenders in the NBA. If he can develop,
From what I remember, yeah.
and for
It's been a while.
if he can develop the shot, and he's still a young guy. I mean,
Totally.
I'll look up Kid Girl Crush, but I want to say
he's on the same contract as Anthony Davis, so it's his 3rd or 4th year in the
yeah,
league.
he's got to be
And if this is a
around. And he
contract
came
year-
out of his freshman year as well, so he's probably in his 23. I believe he actually was extended before he got hurt.
Yeah, I just remember.
I'm almost certain he was extended
Yeah,
before he
I
got hurt. So
agree
his
with that.
contract's amazing for Charlotte. Like the MKG contract,
Yeah.
if he comes back to form,
Yeah.
is going to look like one of the best contracts in the league. I think I undervalued the MKG. I have him at 41 wins.
I have the line at 54, and I'm taking over.
You have the line at 54 wins?
Yeah.
I think Vegas is going to not agree with AJ. I think
that's
that
fine.
Vegas had him at 32.5 last year. So a 20.
And Vegas fucked the dog last year.
Well, they
And
were off by 16
and
wins.
Kid
So
Gilchrist got injured, and they were still wrong.
yes, agree. I 100% agree with you. I just am very concerned that their guards in general are very scary bad. Kemba Walker's fun, but other than
Walker
that,
was fun. He shot better last year.
he did. And
I'll tell you that.
if he continues to improve from the outside, which he's also a young player you hope continues to improve, they could be better, but I don't see 54. I see more 40. I see them maybe around where they were at, 48.
I don't see that. I think they're going to get better. And I would say, given what's about to happen to Washington and Miami and Brooklyn and Philly, and Toronto, I think there's a lot of wins to go around in the East, and I think they're positioned to take them. That's my view.
I think that's the most interesting question about the Eastern Conference is which team is going to eat up the wins, because there will be a team that has a massive game like Charlotte outperforming by 16 wins. I know you already said the Celtics, so we know they're going to eat up some of the wins. I had the Celtics doing better because I had Charlotte doing worse, so I thought they were going to eat some of Charlotte's wins. So
There's some relevant Eastern Conference teams coming up in the alphabetical order.
yes, well, let's get to the next one. That is the Chicago Bulls. Possibly one of the more divisive off seasons of any of the teams, because if the Bulls offseason happened 6 years ago, it would be one of the best off seasons in NBA history. Like 7 years ago, if you're getting Rajon Rondo, 2009, you're feeling really, really good about the point guard position. If you're getting Dwayne Wade, 2000 till 2013, you're feeling really, really good about your acquisition.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, those guys just don't seem to be. If you're getting Robin Lopez, you're just very excited in general because he's the best center now on the Bulls. So,
Defensively, for sure.
yeah. Is he going to start?
How much 5 has Taj Gibson played in his life? I'm saying not much.
I want to say 6'9", so probably not much.
Yeah, so
he's very undersized for that
He
position.
should start. He's started everywhere he's played in the league, except for like 1 or 2 years in Phoenix. He's been defensively above average, especially for a center, in the league. Hollinger has him worth fucking 8 wins a year, and he doesn't even play that much offense.
That is pretty wild, and he's been one of the more like advanced analytics stars as far as the center position
By
goes.
the way,
People really like him.
this was something that confused me. Nate Duncan really doesn't like Robin Lopez. Thinks he's a very below average player.
Which is strange because Nate's so analytics oriented, but
Well, he's just smarter than me. So
it
makes
both
me
of us.
wonder. It makes me wonder if I missed something.
He's one of those rarefied assholes who's both 6'8" and a lawyer.
Yeah, and has a huge Shrek-like head and face.
Yes. So Nate Duncan's a monster. So, last year the Bulls won 42 games. AJ, you got him. Nate Duncan. While we're talking about him, had them rated as a D- for their offseason. Danny LaRue had F+.
I saw that too.
How many wins you got him at?
They're worried about defense and
Shooting.
Yeah, they're worried about shooting and they're worried about defense. I probably fucked up the line on this one. So I'm putting them because Hollinger has them adding 11 wins over last year, which is crazy town, just because of who they added.
Yeah.
Because of their PER numbers. So I put the line at 53.
Okay. I have the line at 42.
And do you think they're going to win 42?
That's how many games I think they win.
Yeah.
I think.
So
but
I
I
would
think
take the under on 53.
I would too. I think the Bulls are going to be overvalued, and I think Vegas is going to reflect that. I think Vegas knows that anytime there's a team with the popularity of the signing of Dwayne Wade, and people still like the casual fan may not realize the regression of Rajon Rondo. Exactly. But here's the problem, right? They got rid of Tom Thibodeau in favor of Fred Hoiberg, an offensive-minded coach, and they have no shooting for a system. Like, Who can shoot 35% from 3 on the Bulls?
I think Tony
Anyone?
Snell.
He's not going to play, hopefully. They hope he doesn't play. Maybe.
Tony Snell's good, man.
Yeah, but I think that they plan on. We'll see. I mean, Tony Snell's all
Julian
right.
McBuckets is getting better.
I think McBuckets. I think they hope Doug McDermott gets better. I mean, they drafted him in the first round. They're hoping he's going to do better. I think they think Jimmy Butler, despite his value, not a good three-point shooter. Denzel Valentine, their draft pick, interesting point guard, very dynamic, versatility-wise, not a good three-point shooter.
So you think the Bulls are basically going to be the same as they were last year?
Yeah, I think in terms of losing Powell, in terms of losing Derrick Rose, who I do think is better than Rajon Rondo, even though Derrick Rose has had his struggles. Rajon Rondo's one of the worst defenders and worst shooters at the point guard position in the NBA. Which blows my mind. Like, we could spend 40 minutes talking about Rajon Rondo's defense. He was one of the best defensive point guards maybe we'd ever seen for a time. He was elite and then fell off a cliff. And he's probably 30 years old at that.
I just can't put into words why I think they're going to be better than last year, but I do. I think high 40s. I think they're going to do better than breaking even, and I think they're going to win some games that they shouldn't. And I don't think Dwayne Wade's going to phone it in. And I think Rondo's going to make the right passes. I think Butler's going to make buckets. I think Taj is going to continue to be Taj. And I think Robin's going to do Robin stuff in the paint.
Maybe.
I think it's worth some wins.
They're going to be the least efficient team in the NBA. But they might still win a lot of games. They're going to be terrible in terms of efficiency.
A non-shoot first point guard will be nice for them.
Yeah, that'll be nice. Although Derrick Rose always did want to be a distributor. All right, well.
So let's move on to Cleveland. We'll make this one quick. Cleveland didn't have a bunch of movement. They added Mike Dunleavy. They lost Deladova, who was virtually a non-player in the NBA Finals. They had 57 wins last year. Where do you have them this year?
I put the line at 54.
All right. Well, I have them at 57 wins, so I will take the over on your 54.
I'm taking the under.
You're taking the under?
Yes.
Is that because you think they're going to be so... They want the 1 seed.
I don't think they care.
You think they're willing to succumb to Boston or your Charlotte Hornets and let them be the 1 seed?
I think whatever seeding they take, they're going to stay in the 1-2 bracket or they're going to take it over from the team they beat.
I think they want home court. I think they realized last year, despite winning, that home court's going to matter maybe as much as it ever has.
I don't think that...
Let me ask you.
So LeBron's up to 45,000 minutes?
Yeah, but he's LeBron. He could play like 6 minutes and get a triple-double.
I think he wants to play 20 years. I think he's already got a title for Cleveland. I think that's enough. I don't think he sees, I just don't see it.
So let's say LeBron only plays 50 games because he takes 30 games on a emotional hiatus or a leg hiatus.
60.
Yeah, he goes to Germany and gets his blood platelets changed or whatever they do in Germany.
Totally legally.
Which is completely fine. I'm cool with this. Clean your blood all you want. That doesn't seem weird to me. I don't know. I think that they know they need to be the 1 seed. I think it's going to take 56 games to be the 1 seed, and I think they're going to shut it down right there. So, all right. So let's move on. Cleveland's going to be good, in case you were curious.
Yeah, Cleveland's going to be quite good.
I wouldn't bet on them as the point, so their over-under isn't going to be a big difference maker because they're so unpredictable in terms of playing time. So let's go next to Dallas. I think this is one of the most controversial opinions we may have.
So one thing I want to add. If Vegas does put the line at 57 games for Cleveland, hard under for me.
Hard under at 57.
Yeah.
I think, I could see that being the more valuable play.
I think they're... I just don't...
I think they win.
I don't know why
under.
Cleveland would try. That's really what I'm saying.
They want the 1 seed. That's it. They just want home court advantage throughout the Eastern Conference. They don't want to go play 4 games in Boston. Why bother?
They're not going to have home court in the finals, so they might want to practice for that.
Sure. I mean, that's...
or maybe they might want to avoid that until the last minute. I don't know. I just don't think they need to be very good.
They don't need to be, but I think they want to be the 1 seed. I think that's like a pride thing. We'll see. Let's go into Dallas. They 42 wins last year. They added Harrison Barnes and Andrew Bogut. They lost Chandler Parsons and Zaza Pachulia.
And they still have Rick Carlisle. Hollinger says they get 5 wins worse. I put the line at 43. Take the over or the under?
I took the under because I have them at 41. I think, honestly, the Mavericks are a huge candidate to be bad this year, which I feel bad for the Dirk contract, but I could see them trying to make
I do not feel bad for the Dirk contract.
I feel bad for Dirk insofar as he stayed there and chose to sign a contract to continue playing. I mean, he's getting paid a lot of money, but they're going to be bad for the next 2-3 years.
He's now played for the Mavericks longer than he lived in Germany.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
That's why he wasn't going to leave the Mavericks.
So is he officially an American now?
I'm crossing my fingers if you can't see that.
I hope he can pass that citizenship test
because
Trump's planning on.
He can play for the Olympics in Tokyo for the United States.
Did Germany even qualify for the Olympics this year?
No, because Dirk's an American.
All right. I like it. So
I also took the under on 43. Harrison Barnes doesn't impress me. He doesn't impress Coach K either. He plays 2 minutes a game in Rio.
They're bad.
Andrew Bogut doesn't give a fuck. He's like 34, and he went to the Olympics for Australia just.
And he's been really good for them. He's probably been the best player on the Australian team.
Besides Dellavedova.
I don't know. I think Delhi's been all right, but I think Andrew Bogut's been crucial. I mean,
Dellavedova hung 26 and 13 on someone last week. That's good.
That's really good.
I mean, Andrew Bogut not breaking anything over the course of the Olympics is all.
I'm shocked they let him play.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Andrew Bogut looks skinny as fuck and fast as hell.
And made of
he looks ready to go.
He looks a few years younger.
He does. So let's call the Mavericks boring at best. Probably underachieving.
Yeah.
The next team on this list is, I think, the opposite. I think the Denver Nuggets are actually one of the most fun teams to watch. I think they have 13 guys who are going to be interesting.
Yeah.
The addition I have for them is I have Jamal Murray, the draft pick that they got, who I think is a great compliment to Moutier, whereas Moutier is a terrible shooter so far and had one of the historically worst starts to a rookie season shooting-wise ever. Ever. Yep. Jamal Murray is the opposite. Jamal Murray is a guy who is going to shoot 40% from three. That scouts say if he ever becomes anything, he's going to become a great shooter. And I think that's really good. But Wilson Chandler's coming back for them, too. So,
and Matt Moore watches Denver's practices a lot, says Wilson looks really good, really spry, really healthy, and stronger than ever.
Well, when you don't play basketball for 3 years, it's easy to get spry, right?
But it's not easy to look stronger than he ever has.
True,
before.
Absolutely. And, he's not too old. They won 33 games last year, AJ. I have them winning, personally, 42 games. I have the Denver Nuggets being the surprise 8 seed in the Western Conference. Where do you have them?
Well, I was about to make fun of you for how embarrassing that sounds, but I have the line at 39.5, and I took the over.
So, whereas you think my 42 is too much, 39.5 plus the over feels just right.
So, one thing that's relevant is Gallinari continues to get better. He adds a surprising amount of wins if you look at the Hollinger stuff. He also had some pretty good BPM last year. His free throw rate is out of control.
I love Gallinari.
He is always at the line.
He's a guy who I could see get traded as well.
His that'd be sad. But I think the story of the Denver Nuggets, and we saw it if you've been watching the Olympics, is fucking Jokic, man.
Jokic is the real deal.
He was chewing on
and Nurkic. Jokic and Nurkic.
Yeah, Nurkic. Well, Jokic more so.
Yes, I think Jokic has the better upside. He's a better passer. He's younger.
I mean, he added a bunch of wins for his position. He has a really good defensive box plus minus.
I really like Jokic.
Matt Moore, obviously, is Jokic's biggest fan, and he's been doing that for much longer than I have. But once I watched a bunch of Jokic in these Olympics, I just think he looks ready to manhandle people.
I think so, too. I think Denver's going to be fun. I say Denver overperforms everyone's expectations. Vegas had him at 26.5 last year, so we'll see where they put him this year.
Yeah, so let's not forget some healthy players. Moutier with a second year under his belt. Jokic with some international exposure. Nurkic he was healthy for half of last year. He's going to be healthy for all of this year.
And Mike Malone's a good coach.
Allegedly has lost a little weight. Mike Malone is an elite coach in this league.
Elite?
Yeah.
I think he's really good. I wasn't going to go elite, but I actually really like Mike Malone.
And Denver's home court advantage is unsurpassed in this league.
Well, I don't know about unsurpassed. I think the Spurs, who won 40 home games, and the Warriors, who won 39, and the Jazz, who won like 35 every year for like 10 years straight.
Both of those teams lost in Denver last year.
Fair enough.
It's a mile in the fucking air. It's hard to breathe there. That's why the home court advantage is
I like it, yeah.
It's
absolutely.
Imposing to play there.
100%. I agree with that. And I heard Mike Malone on Zach Lowe talk about Moutier. There was I think the month of January or February, he was shooting 35% from three. Anything you get out of him in terms of efficiency production on offense, he's going to be great.
It's great.
So let's go next.
Detroit basketball.
So I love Jalen Rose. So Ben Wallace was re-signed by the Detroit Pistons. I'm kidding, no. But the Pistons actually, I think, had one of the weirdest off seasons of anyone. I really loved what they did last year with the trade for Marcus Morris. I really like the pickup.
They fleeced us. Well, not trade.
They did really, really well in that trade. The big additions I have for them are, and they're not big, Ish Smith, John Lure, and Boban.
Boban is big.
So, well, like literally, he's a big addition.
Yeah, Boban of the Hill People is a big man.
They won 44 games last year.
They won 44 games last year, and each of those guys is worth a couple of wins.
Okay.
I mean, Ish Smith probably had a better year last year than Brandon Jennings has had ever, maybe. Except for that year the Bucks made the playoffs.
Yeah, I was going to say Brandon Jennings had some pretty good years. Before his injury, before the Achilles injury, I think Brandon Jennings might have a better year this year than Ish Smith. Brandon Jennings on the Knicks.
We'll fucking get to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming up.
Sure.
I mean, they lost no one really, except for Ilyasova.
They're really boring.
Yeah.
I think they got worse. They signed Boban, John Lure. They still have Aaron Baines. They have no exciting power forwards. They have Tobias Harris, who they got at the end of last year, who may do something for them. But, honestly, I think they're awful. Like, and let me ask you a question. Who plays backup point guard for the Detroit Pistons?
Ish Smith.
Right. And, sorry, who plays backup shooting guard?
Who's starting?
Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. KCP. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Who I think is one of their better young players.
Yeah, he's fine. I don't know their roster well enough.
I don't think they have a backup shooting guard. I don't know it either, and I did research for this podcast. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
the Pistons' shooting guard position is sad at best.
Okay, so I put the line at 49. What are you doing?
I'm going under.
I am too.
I have it at 43. I have them winning 43 games.
I don't. I think they're going to
That's where I think the Boston gets some of their wins.
I think they're going to get a few games better. John Lure is sneaky good as a backup, and Boban is obviously good as a backup. And then if you're telling me that Andre Drummond, the big camel, the new Agent Zero, is not going to get better and win a few games because of that, I think you're lying to me.
Well, with Hack-a-Shack rules continuing to trend toward Andre Drummond's awful free throw shooting being eliminated, I think he's going to continue to improve, yeah.
Yeah, and he put up a lot of stupid one-handed shots around the basket last year. He was like, he's the biggest guy in the league, one of the fastest big men ever, has a vertical like no big man since Shaq, and he was shooting like 48% is what he finished last year on field goals.
You can't shoot
doing
that
dumb
poorly.
one-handed things around the basket. I don't know if he was chasing rebounds or what, but if you're telling me he's not going to get better and that's not going to be worth a few wins, I think you're insane. But if you think this is a 50-win team, I will politely bet against you.
I'll take that bet everywhere. So we'll get through another one really quickly. The Warriors. So
who did they add this offseason? I didn't look.
The Warriors didn't do much this offseason. They just sort of stood pat. They added some guy, Kevin Durant. He's whatever. They lost Harrison Barnes and Andrew Bogut. They added Kevin fucking Durant, as I have on my spreadsheet.
Yes, it does say Kevin F. Durant.
And Zaza Pachulia, not to mention David West, who, correction on my David West hatred from the first part of this podcast, David West was a very good bench player last year. Had a 2.2 real plus-minus coming off the bench, which is very good, ranked in the top 20 among power forwards. So we can't discount that, but I think Zaza and David West both offer rebounding, maybe a little passing, and they lost Festus Ezeli as well.
3 things, real quick. One is, before last season started, you and I were sitting at Arizona Wilderness, and this was in like July.
Yes.
And we were like, there's no fucking way the Warriors win the title next year. And you were like, absolutely. And then we just agreed with each other for a couple minutes. And they fucking didn't. That's number 1.
Yes.
Number 2
We're
is
geniuses.
Number 2 is fuck the Warriors. Number 3 is
yes.
Number 3 is the line is at 71 games. What do you do?
Oh my God! You go under. You have to.
No, you don't.
You have to. It's a statistical aberration. Although the Bulls did win 72 and 67, that's where I have the Warriors. I have the Warriors at 66 wins. I think that they win 66 games, which I think makes Kevin Durant look bad, which is insane.
Kevin Durant should look bad. His last year was terrible. His playoffs were terrible. His team spirit is terrible.
His team spirit is changed because he's on a different team. But
it had to change.
He was extremely efficient.
Terrible.
Defensively, Kevin Durant First of all, you obviously didn't see his impassioned discussion of Mark Cuban's question about Russell Westbrook not being elite and then Kevin Durant calling everybody dumb. Clearly he agreed, though, because he bailed on Russell Westbrook as fast as...
He's an idiot. He's an idiot. That's what we have to say about
But I agree, and I'm leaving.
He's an idiot. Next question. The
So
best
you
part
saw-
of that is when he gently touches Russ and just goes, hold up.
Don't
into
talk,
the mic,
Russell.
Hold up. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. That's what we have to say about that. Next question.
Next question. Where are you going in the offseason?
Golden State Warriors.
Cool. That's great.
Russ is too elite for me and my chest full of tattoos, but
So,
not arms.
I think it... I don't know why I think
so
this.
here's why I put it at 71, because Hollinger says they added 23 wins in the offseason.
That's not physically possible. They won 73 games. They're going to win 106 games. Hollinger says they're going to win 96 games this year.
At least one GM put it through the model and had them win 83 games next year. Dumb GM, maybe. Bad model, probably.
Well, has more games than possibly winnable.
But yeah, or
They win all 82.
Or there's never been a team assembled like this.
Correct.
In
Yeah.
National Basketball Association.
That's the truth.
That's why the line's at 71.
If you told me you bet over 66 on the Warriors, I wouldn't think you were silly. If you told me you bet the under, I wouldn't think you were silly.
What if the line's at 70? What do you do? What if the line's at 69.5? That's the question.
You've got to take the under.
Bill Simmons said that exact same thing
In
last summer. The line was at 68.5.
4 teams ever have won 70 games. 3 teams ever have won 70 games. 2 teams ever have won 70 games.
Now we're talking Turkey.
2 teams ever have won 70 games.
Yeah.
A couple teams won 69.
And they did it last year. And then they added some people. Like,
Kevin Durant's better than Harrison Barnes.
They
I
added a
do
guy.
think
They
Zaza
have Bob
Pachulia is
Mackin
worse
coming
than
off
Andrew
the bench.
Bogut. I do think David West is...
I think every person on this team could play Spurs minutes. Like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And they could get close enough to 60 games.
Golden
to 70
State's
games,
really good.
But they would just say, fuck it.
For the
By
record,
way, I
this
don't
is...
think they're going to be that good. I'll take the under all day long.
By the way, this is going to be a 2-part episode because we're at 37 minutes in here at Boulders on Southern for our live broadcast. And to tell you the truth, it's been so much fun to do it in a live scenario. We've got people sitting around us who are basketball intelligent, helping us look up the silly things we say out loud. That's always a resource. And, Boulders on Southern, great place. Northeast corner of Alma School and Southern in Mesa, Arizona. Awesome specials. Our first sponsor on the pod. So AJ and I are going to keep it rolling. We're about halfway through. We're about a third of the way through. We're going to move on to the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets won 41 games last year, AJ, after being in the Western Conference Finals the year before.
That was pretty piss poor of them.
Yes, so they added... Hot take, Mike D'Antoni personally adds 10 wins.
I can deal with that.
No, I
can deal with that.
I don't know that they win 10 games because of him, but I have them possibly winning 10 more games.
Coaches are the most... You out?
No, it's not out.
Oh, okay. Coaches are the most underrated part of basketball. It's why Cuban continues to pay Rick Carlisle and let him do whatever he wants.
And it's why they keep making the playoffs despite their roster getting worse.
They keep making the fucking playoffs because coaches are worth a bunch of wins. So you want to tell me Mike D'Antoni's worth 10 wins on a team where almost
I'm kind of exaggerating. I just think the structural difference, adding Ryan Anderson, I think everything instead, they're going to win about 50 games.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah. So they had 9 wins. That's 50 games. I mean, if D'Antoni is 9 instead of 10, or 8 instead of 10.
So if Mike D'Antoni implements a 7 seconds or less in Houston, how many shots, what percentage of the shots is James Harden taking before 7 seconds run off the clock? 50%? Does he have a 50% usage?
Oh, Jesus.
Is he going to have a 40% usage? Is he going to break records for usage? If you were James Harden, who would you pass to?
Yeah, I mean, an open Beverly, a Nene under the bucket on a mismatch, Ryan Anderson on a mismatch or in the corner.
I'd just shoot. I would just shoot like 50 shots a game.
Yeah.
Is it insane to say that James Harden has 5 50-point games this season?
No, not at all. Put the line at 5 games. No, put the line at 6 games.
Over under 6 50-point games for James Harden.
Under.
How dare you? I see what you did there. But I think the Houston's better. I think we both agree. Where's your lineup? What's your lineup for Houston?
My line's at 43.
43. So you think that Vegas will put them at 2 wins better? I can see that. I think that they didn't really lose anybody.
They what? They lost Dwight Howard.
Yeah, but
They lost.
you already said
Josh
Dwight's
Smith.
terrible.
They lost
Dwight
Corey Brewer.
Josh Smith is terrible.
They lost Terrence Jones.
Also bad.
They lost. I didn't even know James Johnson was on the Rockets. They lost. They're about to lose Mota Eunice.
What do you mean about to? Like, do you know something I don't know? Are you breaking news right now?
They haven't signed him yet.
He's gonna play for them.
He had a back injury most of last year.
Yeah, no, that's bad too. Back injuries are not good.
For a guy his size, yeah, it's really piss poor.
I think Ryan Anderson helps with that, but
Anyway, my line's at 43. I'm taking the over. You?
I think Clint Capella's almost as good as Dwight Howard was last year,
That's an insane thing to say.
and we'll see. We'll talk later.
Speaking of insane,
I have him at 46 wins.
yeah, I have him at more than 43. I can get down.
So you're going on the over?
Yeah, big time.
All right,
Speaking of insane, the Indiana Pacers replaced Frank Vogel with Nate McMillan.
that has to be the worst coaching move
That's-
in possibly the history of time.
That's fucking ferocious. It's so bad. Then they lose George
That's like
Hill.
going from Mike D'Antoni to Terry Porter.
Then they lose George Hill, who was at one time worth what Kawhi Leonard was worth. Think about that. And then
In terms of wins or money?
in terms of trade.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, trade value.
Yeah,
Plus-
he was once traded
Yeah.
for him, yeah.
So they
AJ's
were cut-
referencing
they
that
were
at
kind of-
one point Kawhi Leonard was traded for George Hill when Kawhi Leonard was being drafted.
Then they add Jeff Teague, who impresses nobody, and they added Al Jefferson, who can't defend. They get rid of Jan McKinney.
Who I think is a pretty good pickup.
He's a great pickup.
Although I don't see him getting a lot of minutes where he's at.
He's going to make his own minutes. He's like Biombo, man. He's going to fucking carve minutes out of stuff.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will. I mean,
In the
we'll have
playoffs,
to-
possibly, but it's going to be hard to get him in with Gortat because they play very similarly. Let's not talk about
Gortat's like
Washington.
30 fucking 4 or some shit. Isn't he like 34, 35 at this point?
I'll look it up.
Okay.
But
So anyway, they got rid of those guys. They added some people who don't really impress anybody. I don't even think Jeff Teague is it a contract year?
Yes.
So look for Jeff Teague to make only the best passes and shoot a shitload of buckets. But anyway, Nate McMillan instead of Frank Vogel. I think Vegas is going to open at 7 games under last year, which means the line
7
is
games
at,
under. And they won 45 last year.
That's right. So the line is at 38. Are you taking the over or the
I'm taking the over.
I'm
And
taking the fat over. Hard.
Here's why. I think Paul George is a top 5 player in the league. If we had a draft
Did I say
right
taking
now,
the fat over?
yeah.
I am not. I actually have written down taking the under.
So it went from
And I believe-
fat over to under.
No, it was fat under.
Oh,
It was
okay. So fat under.
But
Okay, all
I
right.
said the wrong thing because you snake whispered me.
Yes, that's what I do. I think Teague from Hill is a downgrade. I think losing Jordan Hill and Solomon Hill makes you worse, and Al Jefferson makes you barely better. Al Jefferson is one of the worst defensive centers in possibly the history of basketball.
Yeah, look. I mean, I'll put it to you this way. So this is Hollinger on defense right here. Here's a good microcosm of why it's a good guide but not a perfect guide. He has them as adding 4 wins over last year based on roster. I think that's wrong.
Yeah, and
I-
Nate Duncan and Danny both had him in a D.
And I think the coaching
In the
is going to
offseason.
make him even worse.
Nate
I think-
McMillan's bad. Like, I don't know why. I was watching a game of somebody versus the Blazers. I don't really care who. Probably the Suns. Nope, Suns versus Sonics. And Nate McMillan was on the Sonics, and all I could think about was how god-awful Indiana's going to be this year because of him. But Paul George, am I wrong? Is Paul George one of the 5 best players in basketball?
You are wrong.
Where does he fall?
Uh,
I'll give you LeBron. I'll give you KD. I'll give you Steph.
I want Kawhi before Steph.
I'll take Kawhi. Give you Kawhi.
Then Steph. Then Draymond.
Draymond Green is not a better basketball player than Paul
Paul
George.
George. I disagree.
Draymond Green is a 35% three-point shooter. He can't take anybody off the dribble that's even remotely faster than him.
Yeah, I mean,
He's a very good defensive player, but Paul George is an elite wing defender. Paul George is probably one of the 5 or 6
They're
best wing
both
defenders.
elite, and Draymond is a better passer.
I
that's
think
worth
Paul
a
George
lot.
is just a much better offensive player than Draymond. So we have 10 seconds. before we have to transition. So I'll let you get the last word in. We're going to start part 2 of this shindig.
Paul George is very good. He's not enough to put the Pacers above 38 wins.
Top 10 player, yes or no?
Yes, probably.
Okay. I like him for 46 wins. All right, part 2 coming up.